And to myself, I'm back here in Spain. Why men over 40 need time alone and it's not loneliness. I wanted to talk about change of circumstances, change of behavior type of a topic again. For those of you who've been following me here on YouTube know that I spent a month here in Spain in November. And after 5 weeks back in Finland, I came here again. And today I wanted to talk about process as far as how to find the answers in life and how to get the results I want. Did you know that all the answers in life are in the silence you're avoiding, and all the results in life are in the work that you're avoiding? Many men in their 40s or whatever, I mean, they could be 30s or 50s as well, especially if you go through something tough in your life. It could be a reset with your business, bankruptcy, or divorce maybe. Or you just want to change directions completely. We, for whatever reason, try to avoid time alone. And usually, like I just said 5 seconds ago, all the answers in life are in the silence you're avoiding. It's sometimes scary to be by yourself with your own thoughts, but that's what I've been trying to do intentionally ever since I had my last reset as an entrepreneur a year and a half ago, and my last difficult breakup 3.5 years ago. And especially in the beginning when you go through something there's a lot of adversity related to it, all that silence, all that time by yourself, all that time alone feels really scary. And what I've done, what's been really super helpful for me is that I hop on a plane and I change my environment. I've been coming here to Spain every winter like several times. This is the first winter when instead of doing like a week or two week-long trips, I've been trying to spend a little more time, not do that many trips, but just like spend a month at a time, so that I would be able to clear my head. I don't have any personal quote unquote issues right now, so I'm not going through a difficult divorce or breakup, but I'm quote unquote struggling with my business. And I've been trying to grow my new coaching business for, like I said, 1.5 years. And sometimes things go well and then they don't. And I've been working really hard. And what I do know is that when the going gets tough, usually the number one issue is that we have too many things on our plate. And my process is extremely simple. Instead of adding stuff, I try to delete. I ask myself, what are the things that I can remove from my life so that I can actually focus on those things that truly matter? And sometimes I have to say no to everything else. Let certain fires burn and just put myself in a position where I'm truly selfish. Because unless you help yourself first, that's the only way how you can actually help somebody else in your life. Like they tell you on an airplane, what happens right before takeoff? The flight attendant comes and says, hey, buckle up. And they have it automated message saying that, hey, in case of an emergency, if there's oxygen masks that are being, dropped down, whatever the word is, use your own mask first and then help the infant next to you. That's just the same thing here. And what I do is that I say no to everything else. I come here, I put myself in an apartment like this one, and I just work and I train and I eat, and that's all I do. And it's ruthless in terms of focus, and it's ruthless in terms of just saying no to pretty much everything in your life, other than just that 1 or 2 things that you want to focus on. But what you get in return is mental clarity, and you all of a sudden have sense of direction as well. Even though I know what I'm supposed to do, but when you're in the middle of all of that so-called daily chaos, I'm not saying it's bad. I have my kids, I have a family, I have household chores that I need to take care of like everybody else. But sometimes, occasionally, if you can put yourself in a situation where you can say no to that, yeah, I know it's hard. It's hard for me too. But it's amazing how much focus and clarity you gain as a result, and then you can actually get those results to the right level. So to me, it's a two-step process. First, I need silence to find the answers. And then I need to ask myself, what are the things that I'm avoiding in terms of work? What feels hard? And then that's the action that I need to take. So really 2 things. This time was a little different. So when I came here in November, I just came here by myself. But now I actually got a really good deal on this larger apartment here in Puerto Banús. So it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and I asked my kids if they wanted to come here for a little bit with me in the beginning and then maybe spend 4 or 5 days here and then fly back on their own. But my son wasn't really excited. So I asked my daughter and she came with a friend of hers and they just left today. So the first 4 days they were here with me and they left today. I dropped them off at the airport and it was a funny feeling when I drove back. I felt a little empty and alone because I know that I'm not gonna see her or my kids for the next month. But at the same time, I was excited about the opportunity to again drop everything else and focus on the right topics. And also, like I said, be in silence. When you really try to look for those answers, just eliminate all the distractions. I don't know, book a cabin if you can't hop on a plane, or change your route to the grocery store, or do something else, go to a different gym, change your routines so that you actually start acting in a different way. And it's amazing how much clarity there is all of a sudden. But I haven't been having that many of these lives lately because I've been focusing on my long form content and also on my shorts. But now that I'm here and now that I have more focus, I'm going to do more of these lives as well. I truly enjoy these, especially if there are questions from people. So to anybody online, if you just have anything, it doesn't need to be related to today's topic. It could be just anything, and I'm happy to talk about it. And I was planning on talking about something else as well, just like overall update as far as my life goes. I've been battling with some quote unquote injuries and illnesses lately. At the same time, I had an infection in my right foot called a cellulitis. It's like a soft tissue infection. So I've been on antibiotics for the last 4 weeks. And this was really the first full week of really no issues. So I've been training mostly upper body, and my legs have been, I've been forced to neglect them. And then I have tendonitis in my right knee and frozen shoulder at the same time. So it's been trying to manage pain and trying to improvise as far as my workouts go. But that's how it goes sometimes. I'm 49 now, and it's difficult to admit that you have to slow down, because to me it's always been, you floor it, you go full steam ahead, and then you see what breaks, and then you kind of expect so that you can fix it really quickly and get back on get back on that previous rhythm. But I guess it doesn't work that way anymore. I have to be humble, more humble at least. Yeah. So all the answers are in the silence you're avoiding. All the magic, all the results are in the work that you're avoiding. It's amazing how simple life at the end of the day is. And I could be talking about this forever, but if we think about two different opposites or two different extremes, so you add or you delete. Why do people add in their life? Because it feels safe. Deleting feels dangerous. And if you think about the corporate life, for instance, I come from that. That's my first 10 years, 10, 11 years. I worked for a large Fortune 500 company. And for every process, for every step, for every rule, there's a champion, there's a master. And that particular person is going to do whatever it takes to fight you if you're the one who tries to get rid of that rule or process or whatever law you call it. And that's why there's so much slowness, there's so much inertia, there's so much bureaucracy in these big corporations, because just there's always somebody who fought for that thing. And that's why I've been a full-time entrepreneur for 16 years, but that's why I left. That's why I quit in the first place, because I just felt that I couldn't do what I wanted to do because there was just too much red tape. So small companies, especially startups, and that's what I call myself, I've always been a startup. The beauty of that whole game is that you don't really need to do anything that you don't have to. There's no monthly report to write. There's nothing else. You just basically focus on the relevant things. And I could go on and on with this, but if deleting is important, so is being able to know that 90% of all the information out there is probably irrelevant to you. And if we look at the information flow and the abundance that we live in, as far as social media and the news outlets and everybody talking about the negative things happening in your life, it's so easy to get distracted. And I try to always remind myself that life is simple, but not easy. And if we just try to keep that in mind, that we focus on those couple of things that truly matter at any given moment, it's just going to be so much easier to execute. There's less overwhelm, there's less depression and anxiety. And it took me literally 45 years to understand that I can't fix every problem, because I've always been a fixer. Literally, I mean, in my past relationship, it was just terrible. I used to think that, well, if I just say the same thing from a little different perspective, ultimately the person on the other side is going to understand me. That's never going to work that way. And it took me a while to realize that what I was doing actually was that I was trying to convince that other person to live her life my way. So most couples, I don't know how I got to this point, by the way, but that's an off topic, I guess. But anyhow, since this is live and there is no agenda, I can talk about whatever I want. But you can probably tell that relationships are a passion of mine, especially talking about the dynamics and why people end up in those difficult situations. But I was a good example of a person who spent most of his time together with my partner in trying to convince the other person to live life my way. She did the same thing. And it's all about just falling in love with the potential, not really loving the person the way he or she is. And I'm not going to make that mistake again. Learn my lessons. Or I guess you could say that, well, you don't know unless you're in the same situation. Yeah, that's right. When there's enough drama, people do crazy stuff, crazy things. Time alone, this is what I wrote down for myself. Time alone feels dangerous for a weak man, but it's mandatory for a rebuilding man. So if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, you're going through a tough time. I don't know how many of you will be watching this after the fact, but keep in mind that that time alone probably feels like the scariest thing ever in your life. But it's also going to be the best decision that you ever make, just to spend some time alone. And you don't need to do anything drastic like me, change countries or quit corporate, start a business, move to another country, start in a completely new industry from scratch and really test yourself. I'm not saying that. And I understand that people are different. I'm not saying, by the way, that I'm any better. I'm just different. But I've always been the one who wanted to test himself. And the harder the problem, the bigger the challenge, the more excited I was. But I know it's not for everybody. I get that completely. But if I were to give advice to anybody else, I would basically say that, look, start with baby steps. Start doing something that feels a little bit scary, but not like super scary. What could that be? If you've always been the person who wants to spend a lot of time at home but feels depressed because there's no social circle, there's no stimulus, there's no activity like that. So start venturing out a little bit. So maybe call your best friend and go for a bike ride, or go for a walk, or maybe go get some, I don't know, go get dinner together, go eat lunch, or go on this camping trip, or I don't know, spend a night in a tent, or do something that's outside your comfort zone, because you never live your life unless you really truly test your capabilities. That's how I look at it. And I mean, I've been always super passionate about stuff like that. Because I think this is if you think about life, it's a journey that never ends. There's friction, there's tension. Life doesn't exist without friction or tension. We were born that way. There was friction, if you know what I mean, between a man and a woman. And that friction continues. That's the reason why there's movement. That's the reason why there's energy and activity. It's called friction, it's called tension. But why do we then spend our whole life trying to get rid of that or remove that friction and that tension? It doesn't make any sense. So the only solution really is to understand that this is a journey that never ends. It's like there are complex problems and complicated problems in life. Think about it. So a complicated problem is something, I mean, if I have a charger here, okay? And a cable attached to it. Cable is broken. What do? I use my logic. I use my computing power, meaning my brain, and I'm like, okay, I detach the cable from the charger and I replace this one. I go to the store and buy a new one. That's a complicated problem. Or my toaster or my dishwasher breaks. If I'm a handyman, I can probably fix that by replacing a part, or I buy a new one. That's an example of a complicated problem. But then there are also complex problems. Relationships, love, life overall, your kids, your dog. Those are complex problems. You can never understand your pet, the way that cat or dog behaves. It's a complex problem. No matter how much logic or computing power you try to apply to that problem, it's never going to solve the so-called problem. But for some reason, we try to apply the logic and the common sense and that computing power to solve those complex problems as well. And we fail every single time. You got two options. So you either get comfortable with the uncomfortable and kind of learn how to deal with that, or you try to avoid those situations and those people. But I think the only option is the first one because, like I said, life doesn't happen without tension and friction and emotions. Of course, you can pick those people in your life who best serve your needs. Three fundamental questions: people, places, and jobs. Meaning, where do I live, who do I hang out with, and what do I do for a living? Everything else beyond that is just completely irrelevant, or everything else will fall in its place. But again, coming back to complex versus complicated. So complicated is easy. You go to YouTube and figure out, find a video that solves the problem and then you replicate it. But a complex problem, you need to certain fires burn. You need to let certain fires burn, or you then just get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And that's it. You learn how to deal with, you learn how to deal with that tension and that friction. What else did I want to say? Weather is beautiful here in Spain. Completely different than where I came from. I used to live in California and Florida for a very long time, especially California, and I'm used to this. Oh shoot, I'm used to this. You see what, this is, oh shit, fuck. I'm gonna show you real quick. So, I'm used to this kind of environment where you have blue skies and palm trees and whatnot. That's why southern Spain has always been kind of one of those happy places for me. I don't speak the language, if that's what you're wondering. And that's probably one of the reasons why I feel at peace here, because even if I wanted, I couldn't follow the politics, which I don't do anywhere. But you know what I mean? It's like, even if you don't follow or watch political debates on TV, it's all over the place if you understand the language. But here, I don't. I don't understand what people talk about. And here in Marbella, it's mostly international people anyhow. But I mean, there's plenty of bullshit going on here too. It's like any other government. But I don't have any clue what they are talking about. That's actually really peaceful. So maybe I could add this to my list of happiness hacks. Go to a country where nobody speaks your language, and then you kind of isolate it in a positive way. You don't have to worry about what's going on in the country and burden your mind with all these negative thoughts about, okay, what's going to happen next. That's what all the Western media is all about anyhow. But anyhow, of course, you need to be in a place where people understand you and you can open a bank account and run your errands and stuff like that. So that's obviously something that's crucial. My plan going forward is to spend more and more time here in the winter. This winter, I'm going to spend 2 months here, and maybe doing 3 months next winter would be a good idea, and gradually ramping it up to 4 to 5 months. Then I can escape the winter in Northern Europe, assuming my kids are still there. If my kids decide to move, I'm not going to be there. I have nothing against Finland, but I was born and raised there. I'm a dual citizen as well. I can go to the US, but depending what my kids want to do. So I'm not going to, of course, move in with them. They're going to get older and they want to be away from their dad, but I would want to be closer to them. Let's say they wanted to go back to California, I would probably find a way to go to the US for sure. But right now, this is the place. Summers in Northern Europe, in Scandinavia, Nothing beats that. And then to just maximize my time here in Spain in the winter, which would be a good combination for me. An excellent combo. For those of you who joined, why men over 40 need time alone, this is what I wanted to talk about. I've been going back and forth with off topic, from one off topic to another. But I'm back here. I did a month here in Spain in November. And I came here now last Wednesday. I've been here for 5 days or what. And I'm gonna do the exact same thing, say no to everything else, ruthlessly prioritize my own alone time, because all the answers you're looking for are in the silence you're avoiding, and all the magic and all the results that you're looking for are in the work that you're avoiding. I pretty much know I'm not avoiding any work. I know what I need to do, but sometimes you need to get that extra 5 or 10% of clarity. And you only get that, you get the answers when you actually put yourself in a position where you're alone, when you just spend time by yourself. Many people are just afraid of that because it's scary, because you have to be alone with your own thoughts. And I think that's some sort of it's a safety mechanism that kicks in with many people. They want to avoid the tough topics. Never ever sweep anything under the rug. That's my philosophy. Nothing good ever comes out of that. So that's the way it goes. I'm gonna announce my next one too, maybe in a few days, hoping that there's gonna be questions next time more, because I love those, I live for those. Right now, I'm gonna call it a day. I hope you got something out of this. That's my goal, to help people here. I'm gonna stick around. I'm not gonna give up. That's not my way. I'm gonna keep making this video. I'm gonna keep documenting my life. I'm gonna keep talking about important things for men 40 plus from my perspective, because I've gone through so much in my life when it comes to adversity, positive and negative and whatever. Well, adversity is always kind of, people look at it as a challenging thing, as a negative thing. To me, it's a blessing, but it took me a while to realize that. But anyhow, to make a long story short, I'm not gonna go anywhere. My goal is to make this bigger and be able to help as many people as possible by just sticking around, talking about the topics that are close to my heart. And my recipe is extremely simple. So I go through my own notes, my mental notes and my journaling notes, and I'm like, okay, what happened on any given day? It's like, what conclusions can I draw out of that? Okay, one problem, one solution, then I make a video about it. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. I get better all the time. And I look at it this way, I always get what I deserve in the end. So if I stay humble, if I work hard, and if my intentions are good, I mean, I get what I deserve, whether it's money, status, customers, clients, I don't know, projects, responsibilities. That's how I look at it. Anyhow, I enjoyed this. My apologies for not being more active with lives. I've been busy with other forms of content, but I'll ramp this up too, especially for the next 4 weeks, because I'm here and I have a lot of time in my hands to do the right thing. See you in the next one. Thank you. Happy Sunday.